When the announcement came in August that Victoria had triumphed over New South Wales in the race to build the Anzac frigates, Newcastle was shattered. The decision was made on price, but the federal government knew that wouldn't placate an angry Hunter and went into overdrive to control the damage. The Prime Minister and the winning consortium, among others, pushed the line that Newcastle had still won, as Amacon needed to do 40% of the work in New South Wales to complete its tender on time. One of the promises was a task force with the express purpose of monitoring Amacon and the jobs which would come to Newcastle. Today, that at least was fulfilled. Federal Industrial Relations Minister Peter Morris announced the names of 5 business people who make up the task force. It'll have direct access to a cabinet subcommittee made up of Peter Morris, Defence Minister Beazley and Industry Technology Commerce Minister Senator John Button.
Its role is to provide a link between the Cabinet Subcommittee, straight into government, and between industry in our region, and between the major contractors for the frigate contract operating the Hunter region.
Amacon says the Hunter will gain work worth $700 million, mostly made up of 5 ship hulls. That should mean 1,200 new jobs.
The company itself made that commitment. It's part of its tendering process. It was part of the figures that it built into that organisation, into the proposal it put to government that was accepted. And we, as members of the subcommittee, will be oversighting the allocation of its work.
The task force will have its first opportunity to prove itself in just a couple of weeks when it talks to Managing Director of Amacon, Dr John White, here in Newcastle. What can't be ignored, though, is that the contract has been signed, and the only arguments Amacon is likely to want to hear now are economic ones. Ross Hampton, NBN News.
Low prices for fishermen were good news for consumers today. 2.5 tonnes of trevally were given away on the foreshore because fishermen say Sydney prices are too low.
The fish are too cheap. It's 6 cents a kilo. It's $1.80 a box. It takes $2.50 just to bring to Sydney. And like 30 years ago, it's the same price as now.
Newcastle markets can take only a fraction of the catch. Today, fisherman Domenico Bagnotto sold 20% of his trevally to the Newcastle Co-op for $1 a kilo. But Domenico says Sydney prices down to 6 cents a kilo will send him broke. The Sydney Fish Markets denies prices are that low, saying at worst they've hit 20 cents. The problem, according to the Sydney markets, is too many fish. Tonnages have increased 5-fold in trevally in the last 2 weeks. Bill Pearce from the Newcastle Fish Co-op agrees, saying the low prices simply reflect supply and demand.
We catch so much trevally, we've got so many boats that go out targeting on this species, and there's not much other fish about at this stage.
The fishermen say they'll keep fishing the trevally, the only fish running, but say they've got no option but to keep giving them away.
Although he met with interference in the home straight when fourth to gold mace at Rose Hill on Saturday, Aladdin was slightly disappointing. The extra 200 metres will be in Aladdin's favour tomorrow, and with the all-conquering Shane Dye in the saddle, he should atone. Gary Harley suggests you throw in Rebel Yell and Live Wire Lady for your trifecta along with Aladdin, and for the daily double at Warwick Farm, Aladdin in the first leg and Todoroki in the second leg, which is race 7. Pressman's Choice, easy winner of Wednesday's Ballarat Cup, will back up in tomorrow's feature race at Caulfield, the Eclipse Stakes.
But it's Pressman's Choice for the Winfield Ballarat Cup. He's streaking away. Pressman's Choice, 2.5 lengths to Melly Boy.
Pressman's Choice has been struggling to regain his best form, but now he is back to his best and should account for this field. Painted Ocean and Eastern Classic should fill the remaining places in the trifecta, and for the Caulfield Daily Double, try Luck Alive in the first leg and Grey Man in the second. At Broadmeadow tomorrow, the Daily Double will be conducted on races 8 and 9, and in the first leg, try Tell Me More, and in the second leg, Marthorpe, and for your trifecta, 4, 1 and 3, Tell Me More to beat King Colino and Out of Power. Pacing at the International Paceway at Broadmeadow tomorrow night, and Gary Harley feels that More Mel and Woi Woi Karamia will take out their respective legs of the Daily Double, while Woi Woi Karamia, Jungle Habits and Rockford Karamia should fill the placings in the trifecta.
Merryweather's Dave MacArthur was in the water first. With sets irregular, wave selection became vital and luck wasn't on MacArthur's side, bowing out of the competition altogether, after his opponent, Richard Marsh, rode a better tactical heat. Nicky Wood came out in the next heat and set about to prove that last week's win at Bondi was no fluke. Wood easily defeated Chris Brown from the United States with high points from every wave. Simon Law kept the points coming with a dynamic display of high-risk vertical manoeuvres. The risk paid off and Simon won his heat with the highest score of the Australians for the day at 90.8 out of a possible 120. Luke Egan began his heat, as he has for most of the year, very slowly. His Brazilian opponent, Fabio Gouveia, dominated throughout, getting the pick of rides. However, in the dying minutes, Luke went for broke, taking off on a right-hander and pulling off some solid backhand moves before riding the wave along the length of the beach and winning the heat with only 18 seconds left. Avoca's Ross Clark-Jones rode solidly, managing some daring moves close into shore, ensuring him a second-round berth. Matt Hoy in the last heat of the day went down by 29 points against America's Jeff Booth. Beachside today was Wendy Botha, out after injuring her knee yesterday in the quarter-finals. Despite being disappointed at her early departure, Wendy was elated at winning her second world title after her nearest points rival, Pam Burridge, was eliminated in her semi this morning.
I really wanted to win the event or do really well, you know, so I could stand up there and win the world title like I wanted to the last time I won it. And the only thing I can do now to make myself feel better is to do good in Hawaii, you know, so that I've won it already, so I'm really happy with that.
And NBN will bring you all the Surfest action live tomorrow from 2 o'clock.
The surf dropped to below a metre after a week of good competition waves. Local knowledge proved invaluable with Newcastle surfers Nicky Wood, Simon Law and Luke Egan all progressing through to the third round. Wood, running on a high after a win in Bondi last week, milked every wave to the shore break in a decisive victory over Hawaiian Sonny Garcia. Luke Egan saved his run to the last wave, just getting up against big wave specialist Gary Elkerton. Simon Law looked comfortable, selecting a good range of waves to outpoint American Brad Gerlach. Potter, Hardman and reigning world champion Barton Lynch got through as predicted. Not so lucky surfing legend Sean Thompson, beaten by half a point by Sydney's Richard Marsh. Thompson is retiring from the circuit this year and Surfest was his last Australian contest. And while some built castles on the shore, Nat Young proved he was king of the longboards with his classic drop-knee turns and boardwalking manoeuvres. Nat picked up $3,000 and guaranteed his position as world champion longboard surfer. Newcastle's Roger Clements was second. The women's final was held in deteriorating conditions between two of the circuit's up-and-coming stars. Florida's Lisa Anderson and Bondi's Pauline Mensah went to battle, with the Bondi surfer coming up trumps 90.1 to 87. The junior title went predictably to Flavio Paterats. The 18-year-old Brazilian was just too radical for his opposition. And if that wasn't enough action, 8 of the world's best surfers took to the water for what they called an expression session, pushing their bodies and their boards to the limits. The action, including the BHP Surfest men's finals, continues tomorrow.
Australian team captain Phil Crump set the early pace and local Todd Wiltshire starred, scoring a maximum set of points in each of his 6 heats. The Aussies got off to a bad start when Stephen Davies crashed heavily in the first heat. After the restart, an Australian reserve rider Craig Boyce collided with Englishman Mark Lorham. The accident saw Boyce out for the night. The English troubles continued when Ray Morton lost control of his machine and ploughed into the wall. In the final heat, Australia was down 4 points and had to fill first and second to even the score. At Bulahdelah today, and 14 runners lined up for the Forestry Commission King of the Mountain endurance race. The race over 9 kilometres is the highlight of the annual Bulahdelah Agricultural Show. The course is punishing, with steep stony tracks up Bulahdelah Mountain. David Forbes from Wallsend set up an early lead and won in 30 minutes and 16 seconds. Newcastle runners David Anderson and David Broadbent finished second and third. Luke Egan performed best for the Novocastrians with a quarter-final berth before being eliminated by Damien Hardman. Luke performed 2 miraculous escape acts in the rounds leading up to the quarters, winning in the dying minutes. However, his performance was clearly the best, and yesterday earned him the Snowy McAllister Trophy. Merryweather's Dave MacArthur captured everyone's attention and made his mark in the Coke trials, progressing through to the quarterfinals. MacArthur received everyone's backing when he rode dangerously close to the rocks at times, only to come up with a grin and good points. Judges yesterday awarded him the Best and Less Encouragement Trophy for his efforts. Newcastle's Lee Holmes made round 3 but dropped out from the main event on Saturday after some poor waves. Stockton's Simon Law threw everything he had into his round 3 heat but was eliminated by fellow Novocastrian Luke Egan. Nicky Wood revelled in the opportunity to impress a home crowd and showed that he has come of age in the world circuit, but Damien Hardman put an end to his chances to grab victory.
Greater diversity in the economic base of this city and of this region. Yes, I am. Yeah, there's no problem about that. I think there was a meeting last night. We've indicated to them that if they railed Maritime Services Board, they indicated that they didn't want to acquire it. So we've come to this arrangement now with local interests up
this region as well. In other words, this region now has the capacity to become the focus of so much to do with shipping. Would be the focus.
Just over 10% of the restaurants in Wyong Shire are Chinese. Council health inspectors, after finding a number of restaurant proprietors, saw the value in setting up the seminar. 95 people attended today to sit in on the seminar that went through the 12 golden rules of restaurant hygiene. Using an interpreter for those with little English, the seminar dealt with food preparation, storage, cleaning premises and pest control. A subtitled 12-minute film featuring food expert Peter Russell Clark also outlined some of the moral responsibilities for guarding against unhygienic conditions. Wyong Shire Health Inspector Robert Van Hess says the effort to speak to the owners on their own terms was a great benefit.
Well, we hope that they'll follow the principles that we've explained, and we feel that we've achieved more this morning than in probably a year of health surveyors inspecting food shops and giving discussions within the shop premises.
Last night, Maitland City Council adopted 1988 valuations to work out next year's rates. Last year they were based on 1981 prices. Mayor Alderman Peter Blackmore says for years the area has been rated too low and development has forced up the value of land. And he admits the increases will hit retailers hard.
One thing would be for certain, that they would pass the increase down the line to the consumer. The money has to come from somewhere, and I'd say the general public will pay.
But Mr George Pullin, who's run Pullin's furniture store in Maitland High Street for 52 years, says business is already slow and higher prices are not the answer.
You've got to be very competitive in this line of business, so it's something you can't just pass on.
Many businesses in Maitland are being similarly hit. Do you think some will be forced to close?
I think some of the smaller ones will have to be. Will have to go. The increase of this nature is just terrifying.
His rates will jump from $13,000 to $22,000, the largest rise, he says, he's ever experienced. Hit too is this land in Green Hills. Its rates will increase 158%. from $1,600 to nearly $4,200. Though established stores like Green Hills Woolworths will increase $24,000 next year, others will see a decrease, while residential properties, especially home units, will pay less. But though the rates will net $9.6 million, an extra $600,000 on last year, the Mayor admits this may still not be enough.
If we can't make the balanced budget this year, we will be considering making an application to the Minister to have our rates further increased from 7.3%.
With true military discipline, No. 3 Squadron braved the parade ground soaring temperatures today to receive the RAAF's maintenance trophy. The operational unit outclassed specialised maintenance squadrons to win the award, a tribute to No. 3's engineering and maintenance efficiency.
And we pride ourselves on our maintenance, so the squadron that wins the trophy, it's a real feather in their cap, and 3 Squadron was a very worthy winner.
Air Marshal Ray Fennell reviewed the parade before presenting the trophy to the squadron's commanding officer, Wing Commander Bob Trelaw.
Combat day flight! Eyes right!
The Roads and Traffic Authority erected this roundabout to reduce accidents, but in the past 6 weeks, 3 trucks have rolled in exactly the same spot, raising new concerns about its safety. There are 3 road approaches to the roundabout, 2 of them clearly signposted. It's the approach from Cessnock to Doyleson where all 3 trucks lost control. The only traffic sign warning vehicles is on the roundabout itself, except it's been knocked down, leaving the truckies without any warning at all. Combine that with a permissible downhill entry speed of 80 kilometres an hour, and truckies are saying it's no wonder accidents are happening. Truck driver Victor Marikovic says he comes through here 3 times a fortnight and knows the road well enough to stay out of trouble. But he says it's the unsuspecting truckie who gets caught.
That's murder, that roundabout. It's not the trucks, it's not the speed. The speed you come down that hill is about 40 or 50. Top speed is about 60 about all.
He says whoever designed the roundabout should go for a drive in a truck and take a close look.
But it's too sharp.
And his answer for fixing the problem?
Bulldoze it. Straight road, straight in the guts.
We rang the Roads and Traffic Authority to get their view, but they said no one was available to talk to us today. Willie Lafitte for NBN News.
The William IV lay idle today. Its volunteer crews say there'll be plenty of work over the festive season, but even they admit no amount of harbour cruises can steer the paddle steamer out of its $400,000 debt. An appointed manager has governed the William IV's finances for the past year, but appeals for company sponsorship have fallen on deaf ears. A final plea to Newcastle City Council to buy the vessel at a bargain price also failed. It seems no one wants a replica steamship nowadays. Cynthia Hunter has been with the William IV since the keel was laid.
Well, it's so important to the Hunter heritage, this particular vessel. It was built, to commemorate that heritage, both the shipbuilding heritage and the engineering heritage, of which is just so much part of the Port of Newcastle.
The William IV was funded by a $250,000 bicentennial grant, a Steel Regions Assistance grant of the same amount, and further Commonwealth Employment Project funding. A $300,000 bank loan helped to finish the boat in time for the bicentennial. It was hoped that money would be repaid in the same year through numerous engagements along the East Coast. The year was a flop and the money is still owing.
The William IV is likely to sell well below its estimated $1.5 million value, but the new owner won't have the luxury of volunteer crews, free coal and oil or a berth. The prospects look grim, but the William IV supporters live in hope. Do you think it is attractive to a buyer?
It would have to be a buyer that also felt that way, I think, that saw that worth to the vessel, because as I see it, its worth is as a historical artefact here in what it means to the Port of Newcastle's history.
Though their individual interests differ, they all agree that a career in the world of science is their ultimate dream.
To become a well-known scientist.
I'd really like to get into solar energy or perhaps geology exploration.
Each finalist, chosen from 600 entrants Australia-wide, won $100. The national winners, plus the first science teacher awards to be offered in Australia, will be announced next week. Today's tour of BHP Steelworks, Kooragang Island and research laboratories was of particular interest to 11-year-old Duncan Crawford, who used BHP steelmaking dust for his project.
I did 2 experiments, one with potting mixes and one with erosion.
Tamworth's Glenn Sharrock is at 18 already on the road to a career as an inventor.
I built a 2-wheel drive bicycle. The reason I did this was for added traction in off-road situations, and so I could use it in the Simpson Desert, try to cross the Simpson Desert.
Firefighters took less than half an hour to extinguish the blaze, but by then there was nothing left to salvage. The house was already well alight when they arrived at about 7 a.m. Their first fear was for the family.
I just grabbed the hose and rushed for the front bedroom window. Why'd you do that? Well, I didn't know there was anyone inside, trapped at the time, so I just tried to get as much water on as quick as possible so I could see something.
Was there much chance of saving the building?
Nah, it was well light when we got here, we couldn't do much with it.
The family did escape. April Roberts awoke in time to grab her 2.5-year-old son.
Well, I heard the glass crackling and I woke up and I just looked up and seen the smoke. I grabbed Graham and then I just yelled out to Mum and run out the front door.
Did you know that everybody was out safely?
Yeah, once I got Mum, everyone was out.
The blaze left them with just the clothes they were wearing. The contents, valued at about $20,000, were not insured. The house was rented from a Victorian owner. It too was uninsured. Fire experts from Sydney now believe the fire started in the lounge room, probably as a result of an electrical fault. It quickly took hold, filling the house with dense smoke. Firefighters say the family is lucky to have escaped unharmed. Emergency accommodation and clothing is being arranged by the Salvation Army.